Okay, guys. Um, I wanted to make a video on 4440 reloading and not how to do it because there's enough videos out there for that. But I kind of wanted to put something out there that I haven't been able to find on the internet. It's a problem I've had with sizing 4440 cases. For anyone who hasn't worked with 4440, the issue most people point to when they're talking about how hard it is to reload 4440 is that you can't use old 4440 reloading tools for well, let's just say from the beginning it's complicated. Original 4440 cartridges, the bullets are smaller than like modern Uberti or Pieta reproductions, because the modern reproductions use the 44 Special and 44 Magnum barrels, which are slightly larger than the original 4440 barrels. And modern companies do that just for simplicity, so they don't have to make separate barrels for the 44 Specials and Magnums, and they don't have to make separate barrels for the 4440s. So first there's that. So you can't use like old ideal tool reloading tools to make 4440 bullets for modern guns. I mean, you can, but the bullets are going to be small and they're going to be inaccurate, and nobody's going to do that. Nobody wants that. Um, so the issue is that Lee, the company that makes dies for reloading tools, reloading bullets, 38 Special 45 Long Cold, cowboy cartridges, and a lot more than that. But in this case, they make tools for 4440. Um, they they made them like they make tools for other cartridges, like 45 Long Colt, for instance. But 45 Long Colt is a thicker case wall and it's a straight case wall. It doesn't have a bottleneck like bottleneck, and you might be able to see it there. It's a very, very slight bottleneck. But the issue I'm getting with resizing these cases is this camera's not doing any good. Okay, whatever. There's a small bottleneck on it. The issue I'm getting is that it's a thin case wall, and so when you resize it, I get these vertical wrinkles all the way around the case neck. And I'm sure that there's people out there who are saying you're not using enough lube, or you're not annealing the cases, or maybe the die is dirty. No, none of that shit. No, I mean that happened to me before I lubed the cases. I lightly lubed them. First time I put one in a sizing die, this sizing die that punches out the the primer and resizes the case. First time I did that, it did this wrinkling thing. So that's not the problem. And what I come to find out is that when I've done that and it's wrinkled it, and I fill it with powder, black powder, and then I do all the rest of the stuff, and I put the bullet in. When the bullet compresses the black powder, it pushes those wrinkles back out, which initially I'm like, great, fantastic. I don't really even have to worry about the wrinkles. But that's not completely true, because when it pushes those wrinkles out, it's not to size anymore. So when I put it through this, which punches out the primer and sizes the case, but wrinkles it, unfortunately, a lot of the times, sometimes it doesn't, but a lot of the times it wrinkles it. I put black powder in, put a new primer in, put the bullet in after I've mounted the case so that the bullet can sit in again. When the bullet compresses that powder, it pushes out those wrinkles, and then it's not to size anymore. And then, so that's where you get people who are in cowboy action shooting who say, I've got sticky cases. I don't know why. And I'm guessing that's why, because it's a thin case wall, and when you compress black powder, it's just going to push out the case wall. And it might push the case wall out. I just realized this. It might do that even if it didn't have wrinkles. It pushes the wrinkles out in my case, and it makes it obvious. But I'm sure that on a smaller scale, it even just pushes the size of the sides of the case out, so it expands it even larger. So So that's why people are saying that 4440 um, is complicated to reload because it's sensitive. It's a thin case wall, and I think that unfortunately, when Lee decided to go with like the three die reloading thing, like they do with other cases, that they kind of forgot this. That they forgot that it's a thin case wall and it doesn't really reload like other cases. Um, And so, what I learned from like the old school ideal tool reloading tools that they made back in the 1800s when they had production 4440 large scale. They have production now, but it's not large scale. It's not like 9mm is now, where they're just making oodles of it and it's super inexpensive. Back in the day, that's what they did with 4440. So it's a lot more common. And I think the ideal tools, the way that they reloaded back then, sort of reflected the way that they probably reloaded 4440 on a mass scale. Um, and it's different. It's different than what they do here, where they punch the old primer out, they resize the case, and then they bell the case, and then they put powder in, put the bullet in, push the bullet down, crimp it. I think um, that's the modern method. But in the old method, at least on the ideal reloading tools, is you basically just left the case as is when it came out of the rifle, when it was fired. You would punch out the primer like you do in modern ones. You put in a new primer and you put in black powder. You skip the whole sizing. You don't size it at all. You put in powder into the case pretty much as it came out of the rifle. You put a bullet in because you don't need to bell the case anymore. So you're not working the brass any more than you need to. You put the bullet in after you've put in the powder, and there's no need to bell the case because the bullet will just fit in because it's just been fired, so it's wide enough. And then in one motion, you put this into the ideal reloading tool thing, and it seats the bullet, crimps the case, and sizes the die all at the same time. And I think that this is something that's overlooked by Lee. I don't know if they thought through this as much as I have now, but it's a thin case, so you're not going to get wrinkles on the inside if you have the support of compressed powder on the inside. You're not going to get wrinkles in the case if you have the inside pressure of compressed powder on the inside. So in the ideal reloading tool, what it does is it presses that bullet down, compresses the powder, and gives the case some strength from the inside. And while it has that strength on the inside, it's also compressing the case down to the size it needs to be to fit inside of your rifle or your pistol. And that is the last step. It's the final step. So once the bullet's pressed in, the powder's compressed, the case is crimped around the bullet and the case's size, that's the last step. Nothing else is going to affect the size of the bullet. So it's going to fit into your rifle, and it's going to be smooth, and it's not going to stick. I mean, if they're concerned about cases sticking going in, coming out, that might be a different issue. Maybe you've got a rough chamber or something like that. But as far as cases going in, if the final sizing is done right at the end, should be no reason for this thing to not stick into your to go into your rifle smoothly. And anyways, so my end thing is basically that you can reload cases the way that Lee has them set up with the 3-die system now. You have to have another die like the Lee RAM primer to prime it, obviously, but you can do it the way that they have it. But I think that it would be so much better if Lee would just make a die that would punch out the old primer. It wouldn't do anything else. It would just punch out the primer, and then they would just make one die that seated the bullet, crimped the case, and sized the case, and that was the last step. So you'd only really have 2 dies. You wouldn't even necessarily need the primer die. You could basically just do that with a fucking pin and push out the primer yourself. But I mean, there's no need for the to make it that archaic. And we can have a die system. That's fine. It's 4440, but we're not animals. So, uh, and I think that that would just be so much faster, and it would make reloading 4440 so much easier that it would not be such a daunting task. Um, and it's not that bad as is now, but I think that one die that would do all those things and make a perfect bullet uh, cartridge would be super cool. Um, some of you might be asking, well, fuck it, why don't you just get 45 long cold or 38 special? Um, mm, not very good. And I agree with you. You could avoid all these issues of 4440 reloading if you just went with a 45 long colt or a 38 special or 30 or 44 special, 44 magnum, whatever. But there's so many guns out there right now that Pietta's already invested in. Uberti's already invested in remaking guns with the sort of modern 4440 with a larger 44 Magnum special type bullet in it. They've already invested in making a ton of rifles like that. So there's just a large amount out there now anyways. There's a huge market among cowboy action shooters. Not as many want to reload 4440 because it's so difficult, but I feel like it's much easier now, and so people are a lot less scared of it. So there's a lot of people who have invested in 4440 rifles and pistols, and I think that there is a market for that. Lee doesn't have to go out and make like a million of these new dies, and just like dump a whole shit ton of money into it. But I mean, I would buy one. Hell yeah! You kidding me? I don't have to switch from like 3 dies for the whole damn thing. I mean, I could just punch out the primer, put in a new one, and then size the case and do it all at one thing, and then I don't have to do any of the rest of the mess. That'd be awesome. That'd be super cool. But anyways, that's my concern. If there's anything that I didn't, if you think that I might be doing wrong with the dies that I have now, if you think maybe I forgot some details, maybe there's something that you think is that I got right that I could go even farther with. Um, let me know in the comments. But anyways, that's what I think would really improve 4440 reloading and make it simpler and a lot easier. Is just to put the bullet seating, the crimping, and the sizing all in one die, like they did with the old reloading tools. You just can't use the old reloading tools because the modern bullets have to be larger for the 44 Magnum barrels. So I feel like Lee could really kind of take a hint from the old technology and bring it to the new technology and bring us something that would reload 4440 like they did back in the day, simply as they did back in the day, with just a one die that would do boom all that work and get it to size and have consistent bullets every time. Um, so yeah, any concerns, questions, put them in the comments. All right, bye.